In this video, I want to share with you 3 of my favorite places in Bend, Oregon. These include downtown, Drake Park, where I'm at now, and the boardwalk, then the Old Mill District and the Whitewater Park. Starting in downtown, I'm on Broad Street here. This is one of the 2 main streets in the downtown area. I'll wander around here a little bit before heading to some historic buildings on the southwest. Downtown is very popular and very busy on the weekends. It's Friday morning in June right now, and it's already so busy that I had to park several blocks away. I'm coming up on the corner of Bond and Minnesota Street here. That tan building off in the background is Pegasus Bookstore. Again, just a really cute downtown area. A ton of restaurants, small, cute little shops, coffee shops. Great place to spend the afternoon. Jumping around here a little bit, but coming up on the Deschutes Brewery right in front of me on the north end of Bond Street. This town is a lot of breweries. There's a couple of great ones in downtown, including the Deschutes Brewery here, also the Bend Brewing Company, which I'll get to in a little bit. Coming up on my left on the other end of Bond Street is a must-visit icon of the Pacific Northwest. The McMenamins has about 40 locations in Oregon and Washington, often in very interesting and historic buildings. This one was a religious school built in 1936. They converted it into a hotel and restaurant. It has a very pretty interior. It's also really fun to explore with several secret rooms if you're able to find them. If you're interested in a more historical perspective on downtown, I recommend checking out what's called the Bend Heritage Walk. In addition to several buildings on Wall Street, there's a nice collection of old historic buildings just southwest of downtown. Starting here on Idaho Ave, this is the Deschutes Historical Museum, originally built as the Reed Elementary School in 1914. In front of me now is the Old Bend High School. Originally built in 1825, this was the only high school in the city until the 1950s. It is currently the La Pine School Administration Office. Now I'm headed over to the last building that I wanted to show you on this side of town before heading back into downtown. Over on Wall Street right now, this is the historic Amateur Athletic Club, originally built in 1917 and used as a hospital during an influenza pandemic. Currently, it's the Boys and Girls Club of Central Oregon. Now heading back over to Wall Street and downtown proper. Above me, off to the right here, this is the Tower Theater, another one of the historic buildings in downtown. First opened in 1940, still runs as a theater today. Again, another area, a lot of great shops, and of course, the Bend store up here ahead of me on the right if you want your souvenirs. And then, of course, before leaving downtown Wall Street, you want to check out 2 of my favorite outdoor backpacking stores. Y'all Raven, which is across the street from me. I got a nice little foamy hat, which you'll probably see later on in the video. And then, of course, a Patagonia store, which has a ton of great one-bag gear. And then the last little section of downtown I want to show you, it's smaller, but it's cute. There's a lot going on here. A couple great restaurants, coffee shops, before heading down to the park. I'm headed down Oregon Avenue right now. That's the Pine Tavern off to my left. And then skipping ahead a little bit, right next to the Pine Tavern, this is the Bend Brewing Company. Great outdoor seating area, a really nice place to spend the afternoon. And then for a great visual preview of the boardwalk, Drake Park, and the Deschutes River, head down to the end of Brook Street, turn left on Newport, and go over this nice little bridge here. It gives you a great view before heading down to the park. On the other end of Brook Street, a little party bus there, and some great coffee shops like the Looney Bean. They have a great lavender latte, some really great pastries. It's definitely worth checking out. There's a small pedestrian-only walkway, as well as a little area in front of the Commons. that I checked out that had a little craft fair going on the day that I was there. My next must visit location in Bend, Oregon is Drake Park. This is a relatively small park just behind downtown. Doesn't have a ton of property, but what it does have is some really great views, a nice looking boardwalk, lots of green, open spaces, and a great place to spend the afternoon or go for a walk. For me, the best views of the park are going to be along the boardwalk. I'm going to start out by walking down this stairwell behind the coffee shops. This is going to take you, I think this thing was finished just this last year because it wasn't quite as complete the last time I came here. But it's going to take you right down to the river and some really pretty views of the park. Right along the river in front of me, you can see that bridge that we were on a few minutes ago. It's that bridge that goes over Newport. You can walk this way on under the bridge, or you can turn around and head back into the main part of the park. Either way, you're going to have some really pretty views. Outside of the boardwalk area, it's just a lot of pretty green open space, lots of benches, plenty of places to sit. There's a nice looking historic bathroom. And then this is kind of the main grassy part of the park right in front of Mirror Pond. It's a pretty bridge that I'll show you in a minute. There's often going to be paddleboarders, kayakers, pretty much anyone that enjoys the water. This is a great place to watch that or go out in the water if you have one of those. We're going to end the tour in Drake Park by taking a short walk over this wooden bridge on Mirror Pond. This is where all the kayakers and the paddleboarders are going to be hanging out. There's not a lot going on the other side of the bridge. There's a little place where you can rent kayaks and paddleboards. But for the most part, the other side of the river is just a lot of neighborhoods. But this is probably the best place in the park. Just get a really good view of the river, some really pretty houses, and just some great scenery. The last place that I want to show you is the Old Mill District. I think this is broken up into four discrete places. There's the amphitheater across the street that hosts a concert. There's the actual river where people paddleboard and kayak. There's the Whitewater Park, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then the area I'm at, it's kind of the main Old Mill District area centered around shopping. There's an REI, a bunch of cute small restaurants, shops, coffee shops. Towards the south end of the shopping area, you'll come across the Old Mill Bridge in front of me with all those flags. This is how you would get to the amphitheater if you're on this side of the river. It's also a great place to get some great views of the river, watch the paddleboarders and the rafters below. And as I'll show you later, it's very pretty in the evening. You get great sunset views. They actually close the path along the river when there's a concert going on, but you can always come up here and listen to the music for free. Now we're back over on the path on the east side of the river heading north. This is going to be about a half-mile walk to the bridge. I'm going to take you over to the Whitewater Park off there in the distance on my left. This is a really pretty walk. It's very scenic. You get some great views of the amphitheater, and it's just a great little walk along the river on a nice sunny day. As you walk along the river, you'll notice a ton of kayakers, paddleboarders, and just people on floaty rafts going down the river. This is one of my favorite activities in town. There's a couple places where you can put in some free parking lots, and there's also a city bus if you want to do the whole thing. Parking lot, they'll take you up to Riverbend Park, float the entire length of the river through downtown, and then they'll pick you up at Drake Park and take you back where you started. Another option for getting out on the water is this big red building off to my right. This is the Tumalo Creek Kayak and Canoe Store. They do kayak, paddleboard rentals, and classes. They'll take you out on the river, take you down to the Whitewater Park, show you how to roll, and how to do everything safely. Then just before getting to the Whitewater Park, you'll come across this pretty bridge with a beautiful mural inside that takes you under Colorado Avenue. This to me is worth it just for the great landscaping that I comment on every time I come here for some reason, and the really colorful bridge interior. As you come out from under the bridge, we come across the Whitewater Park proper. It consists of 3 sections. The section right here in front of me is the habitat channel. This part is closed to the public, so you can't go through there. It's intended for wildlife, migratory routes for fish, and other animals. We're up on the pedestrian walk bridge right now. That's the habitat channel right there in front of me, the part that's closed. This next section is probably the most fun to just sit here and watch people. This is called the whitewater section. There's several waves and rapids. This is where people come to practice their whitewater skills, come down here in a kayak and practice going up and down the waves. You'll see a surfer, a little surf wave right there. Really popular place, really fun to watch people play in the water. Coming up here in front of me, this is called the fish ladder section. You can see the kayakers down there in front of me. I'm guessing this is a class from that rental store I showed you earlier. This is a whitewater section, but the rapids are a lot tamer than that middle section. You can see a kayaker kind of playing around in there in those rapids. This one in the middle is really for experts. You definitely want to know what you're doing if you're going to be going down. These are some pretty big waves. If you want a better view of the action, come over here to McKay Park on the other end of the walking bridge. Also, this is an area where if you're floating down the river and you don't want to go down any of those rapids, you can take out just at the bridge, walk around here, and put back in. This little section down here is how you get down into the river if you're not coming down the river from above. And this is a fun place to just watch people play around in the water, come down the rapids, and if you're lucky, you can see some really funny wipeouts of people coming down. Maybe they had too many White Claws, get caught up in these little rapids here. It's pretty fun. And then if you remember, I was talking about earlier about the bridge here and the concert venue. So it's a little bit later in the evening. We came down here to have dinner at Anthony's. And you're not allowed to be where I am, but if you sneak out the back, you can get a couple of pictures of the concert venue before they kick you out. So again, coming up here on the bridge, a little bit later in the day, sunset's starting to look pretty nice. Really pretty views of the river and the Old Mill District. Again, this is a place, if you wanted to come up here, check out the concert. It's kind of far off in the distance. You can't really see the band, but you can hear it well enough to enjoy it. Or you can do what all these smart people are doing in front of me here. Just come down in the evening, bring your kayak, canoe, paddleboard, and just drop an anchor. Sit here and listen to the band for free right in front of the auditorium. Great views, great sunset. I really can't think of any other better way to spend an evening in Bend. This auditorium actually gets some pretty good bands coming through. The season I was here, June 2024, Third Eye Blind is playing off in the distance. And then really pretty kind of sunset evening views of the REI off in the distance. There's actually the original old mill. If you look at old pictures of the mill district, you can see those same smokestacks off in the background. And last but definitely not least, a trip to Bend would not be complete without a visit to the Last Blockbuster. If you're old like I am, you'll remember these stores where you could actually come and get videos. It's a pretty cool piece of nostalgia. And since the Alaska location closed in 2018, this is now the last Blockbuster on Earth. And it's even set up like a Blockbuster inside. It's actually just a real store. I think most people come here just to look around, maybe buy a t-shirt, but they definitely have movies if you want to rent something. Old movies, new movies. It's just like a regular video store if you still have a DVD player. Then jumping back downtown for one quick lap before leaving, this concludes our tour of Bend, Oregon. This is a new thing for me, so I'd love feedback on the content. If you want more of a certain thing or less of other stuff, more talking, less talking, please let me know. If you have any questions about anything, including in the town of Bend, Oregon, please let me know in the comments below. And again, thanks for watching.